Before the zombie outbreak, I escaped to a lone island in the sea with everything my mother left me. All supplies holed up at home. I was a mama's boy, everything I ate, drank, and lived off came from my mother. Even with zombies rampant, I had a mother who could still let me laze around. Little Bao. Now go buy some things and hide on our island. My mother's weird phone call left me and Xiaoyan dumbfounded while we were shopping. I quickly lowered the phone volume and stepped aside. Mom, what did you say? The voice on the other end was noisy. My mother seemed cautious, lowering her voice. You remember that virus I told you about before? Of course I did. My mother was a biology PhD who was recruited to work at the H Country National Research Institute. So I followed her to H Country to study. 6 months ago, she was suddenly suspended. She came home on leave for a while. After returning, she acted all paranoid and took out years of savings and my grandparents' inheritance to buy a large villa on an island from a wealthy businessman. At first I thought she just wanted to relax during her break, but she poured almost all her energy into that villa, practically building it from scratch. I went to take a look during my vacation. She also bought a yacht and taught me how to drive it, patiently telling me the island's location sentence by sentence, and where to hide the yacht after arriving. She said the institute had recently developed a new virus, originally tested only on monkeys and other animals. The experiments went smoothly, but the higher-ups, for some reason, suddenly demanded human trials. My mother was suspended because she firmly opposed this. Sent home to rest for a few months. I didn't ask what exactly happened, but seeing how cautious she was, Mom, what about you? Having depended on each other for years, I naturally didn't want to leave alone. I'll come find you in a few days. Remember, go immediately, don't delay, don't ask the school for leave. Okay, I kept nodding. What else should I bring? No need, I've already bought everything you need. Just grab what you think is most essential, drive to the coast, and sail the yacht away from the mainland. My mother was getting impatient with my rambling, but still worriedly stared at me word by word. All right, I'm going now, Mom. Take care of yourself. I know. She hung up decisively. The noise on the other end and my mother's voice both disappeared. I dared not delay any longer. I hurried toward Xiaoyan, who was not far away. Beichen, what's wrong with Auntie? Xiaoyan waited nearby, puzzled. Did something happen? I took a deep breath, trying to steady my racing heart, and grabbed Xiaoyan's hand tightly. Xiaoyan, chaos is coming. What chaos? Xiaoyan looked confused. Why did Auntie suddenly tell you to hide on the island? I glanced warily at the people coming and going in the mall, clenching my teeth. Xiaoyan, do you have money? Xiaoyan froze, instinctively reaching for his bag, thinking I was joking. He shook his head repeatedly. No. Beichen, you know I barely have any money. I ignored his confusion. Just send me your bank account number. Xiaoyan was stunned. Why send it to you? I growled in frustration. Xiaoyan was startled and finally realized I wasn't joking. He quickly handed me the bank card from his bag. A notification soon appeared on Xiaoyan's phone. 1 million. Xiaoyan stared at me in shock. Are you crazy? Where did you get so much money? My mother's. I can use her card. Then why are you transferring it to me? Xiaoyan snatched the card back, trying to return it. I grabbed his hand firmly, looking at him grimly. Xiaoyan, something bad is really about to happen. The virus from my mother's biology institute has leaked. I need to flee to the island for shelter right now. You go buy daily necessities as much as possible. Xiaoyan was stunned by my words. I didn't dare stay in the mall any longer. I dragged Xiaoyan's hand toward the parking lot. Xiaoyan, when you get back, don't tell your parents the truth. They might not believe you. Just say I need their help buying these essentials. Leave them at your place for now. I stepped on the gas while instructing Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan nodded blankly. Is it a very serious virus leak? Yeah, my mom didn't go into detail, but it's definitely a huge disaster. I nodded, ran several red lights, and safely dropped Xiaoyan off at the entrance of his neighborhood. Remember, have your parents prepare supplies with you right away. Treat it like a pandemic worse than COVID. Xiaoyan got out of the car, nodded, and quickly pulled out his phone to call his parents. I breathed a sigh of relief. Next step was to drive to the coast. As long as I got on the yacht, I'd be mostly safe. Beidao. This is a gift for you. Xiaoyan tossed the watch through the car window, giving me a gentle smile. Even if the world falls apart, our Beidao deserves a happy birthday. I stared blankly as Xiaoyan turned and ran into the neighborhood. The watch on the passenger seat lay there quietly. At that moment, a sense of sorrow welled up inside me. This farewell might be our last. I didn't really understand the viruses my mom was researching, what they were exactly, but I believed that if it weren't serious enough, she wouldn't have told me so gravely and urgently. My city was about 300 kilometers from where my mom had docked her yacht. The fastest and safest way was to drive. The road was peaceful the whole way, so peaceful it almost scared me. Maybe my mom was just joking with me, but beneath that calm, I found it terrifying. I didn't understand why experiments that should have been on animals suddenly had to be done on humans. I also didn't understand why my mom, after being suspended, was still willing to go back and continue researching the virus. Once on the highway, I floored the gas. After driving for nearly 3 hours, I finally reached the destination. But by then it was already dark. Only a few scattered lights were on by the dock, and the silent night felt eerily unsettling. According to local rules, the road to the dock was blocked off at night, prohibiting entry and exit. I wasn't sure if there were any virus carriers in this area, so I didn't dare alert anyone. I quickly packed up a few things from the car, stuffed them into my bag, and put on the watch Xiaoyan gave me. After getting out of the car, I carefully made my way to the iron gate at the dock, holding the flashlight in my mouth. I was about to climb the gate with my hands and feet, but the moment my foot stepped on it, the rusty, poorly maintained gate groaned under the strain. At the same time, urgent barking came from not far away. Such noise would definitely draw attention, leaving me no time to slowly climb over. I quickly turned and ran back to the car, started the engine again, and drove a bit farther. I stomped on the accelerator, and the car sped toward the iron gate. Smack! The first hit didn't break through, but the gate was already wobbling. I reversed and hit the gas again. This time the gate couldn't stop me. After a violent impact, it finally gave way and burst open. I could already hear shouts from the locals behind the car. I drove straight to the side of my family's yacht, grabbed my bag, got out, and went straight to untie the ropes. I started the yacht's engine. The dock watchman was already running toward me. I didn't have time to let the engine warm up before starting. I just ignited it directly. I turned the yacht around and headed out to sea. The first to chase after me were, of course, the dogs. The lead German Shepherd, I don't know where it found the courage, but as my yacht was already 5 or 6 meters offshore, it leaped into the air and landed directly on the deck. The other dogs didn't have such bravery. They didn't jump, they just stood on the shore barking at me. The German Shepherd's fighting ability was no joke. I didn't dare underestimate it. After steadying the yacht's direction, I grabbed a fire axe nearby, but it didn't charge toward the helm. Instead, it barked wildly at the passage leading to the lower deck. I was puzzled. In the dim light of the yacht, I saw on the stairs to the lower deck. How could there be someone else hiding on my mom's yacht? I was puzzled. In the dim light of the yacht, I saw on the stairs to the lower deck a figure slowly walking up. How could there be someone else hiding on my mom's yacht? The German Shepherd barked more urgently and instinctively backed away a couple of steps. That emaciated figure slowly emerged into the yacht's light. Only then did I see what kind of monster it was. Its blackish-yellow face had barely any flesh. The wrinkled skin seemed tightly stretched over its skull, highlighting high cheekbones and forehead. Flies clung around its deep-set eye sockets. Its right arm was only a stump above the elbow, dragging a long tattered sleeve coated with some unknown black slime. This could no longer be called human. I took a deep breath, gripping the axe as I slowly crouched down. I might have the courage to fight a German Shepherd, but facing this unknown creature, fear surged within me. It let out a roar. He rushed at the German Shepherd. The dog yelped and turned to run around the deck. The German Shepherd was quick, and the man couldn't catch him for a moment. Only then did I get a clear look at the man's face. In those sunken eye sockets were 2 clumps of something rotten and blackened, just like a zombie. I recalled my mom's recent ramblings, and my heart sank even lower. Smack! Oh, a heavy thud came, followed by the German Shepherd's pained yelp. Soon, they circled back to the side of the deck. The dog's hind leg might have been hit. He hobbled backward on that leg, while that zombie-like creature was slowly cornering the German Shepherd toward the edge of the deck. I couldn't wait any longer. Once the zombie infected the dog or drove it off the yacht, I'd be next. I took a deep breath and crept to the door. The German Shepherd seemed to notice my movement. After yelping a few times in my direction, he barked furiously at the zombie, as if regaining his courage. The German Shepherd's increasingly frantic barking made the zombie even more agitated, and it lunged at the dog. I seized the moment. Just as the zombie passed by the door, I charged out swinging the axe. The glass on the door shattered abruptly, shards flying everywhere. Some cut my face and arms. Some hit my body, but I didn't care. I stared intently at the zombie, which had taken an axe blow to the head. It lay sprawled on the ground, still struggling. The German Shepherd stopped barking and limped over to me. It growled a few more times at the zombie. Looking at the creature still writhing and trying to stand, I was filled with fear. but I stepped forward with the axe and struck its head again and again. No blood sprayed out. Only black liquid slowly oozed from the skull. When the zombie finally stopped moving, I went limp. I fell to the ground with a thud. The yacht was still moving slowly, and we were far from shore. The salty sea breeze was thick with the stench of rot. I looked at the injured German shepherd. It whimpered twice, and quietly curled up in a corner. I couldn't bring the zombie corpse back to the island. From the storage hold under the deck, I found a hook. I hooked the zombie's corpse, dragged it to the edge of the deck, and gave it a hard kick. It went overboard along with the hook. A trail of black liquid remained on the deck. I found a water hose, and washed all the filth off the deck. After finishing, I returned to the helm. I set course for the island according to the coordinates my mom had given me. About 2 hours passed. I spotted the island. It was practically a solitary island, with nothing but rocks around it to stand on. I carefully maneuvered the yacht and found the hidden water cave my mom had mentioned. The cave entrance wasn't large, but the interior was spacious. Unidentifiable vines hung down outside the entrance. I had no idea how my mom had found it. I grabbed some supplies from the yacht, a flashlight in my mouth, my backpack on my back. I stepped on the uneven rocks beside the cave, ready to climb out. Woof! The German shepherd suddenly barked at me, looking at me pitifully. To prevent anyone from stealing the yacht, my mom hadn't built a walkway here. To get in or out of the cave, you had to climb carefully. Of course, a dog couldn't get out either. I glanced around the cave. No food, no fresh water. This dog wouldn't last long. Luckily, the island wasn't fully developed yet. Only a few households were scattered around. My arrival didn't attract any attention. I walked to a relatively flat area, emptied my backpack onto the ground. I put the empty pack back on and climbed back into the water cave. Woof woof. Shut up. The German shepherd was still waiting on the deck, wagging its tail excitedly at me. I grabbed and stepped on the protruding rocks, carefully climbing to the side of the deck. Don't bite me. I've had my rabies shots. I pointed at the dog, putting on a fierce expression. Oh, the dog whined twice. It circled the deck twice. I found the right angle, jumped onto the deck, opened my empty backpack and held it out. If you want to come with me, get in. I'll carry you out. If not, I'll leave you. Once the virus breaks out fully, this island might not be safe either. I don't want to come out every day just to feed a dog. The German shepherd tilted its head, standing at a distance, as if not understanding me. I pointed at the empty backpack, then outside. Get in. I'll take you out. The dog still stared at me motionless, even barked at me. Ungrateful little thing. I muttered under my breath and reached out to grab it. But even with a limp, the dog dodged nimbly. Are you sure? If you don't come with me, I won't bother with you again. I didn't want to waste time on a dog, so I grabbed my pack and turned to leave. Woof woof. The dog barked at me again. I sighed helplessly. I pulled a sausage from the yacht. After much tempting, the dog finally succumbed to the lure of the sausage. Step by step they came toward me. When I was a kid, I followed my grandparents and watched how they caught cats and dogs. I aimed for the German shepherd's scruff, grabbed it firmly, and shoved it straight into my backpack. Surprisingly, the German shepherd was completely focused on eating the ham sausage, not struggling at all as I stuffed it into the backpack. The backpack wasn't big, so only half of the dog's body fit inside. Its upper body was still hanging out of the backpack. I struggled to carry the German shepherd on my back, draping its front legs over my shoulders. Don't move. If you fall off, I can't swim. The German shepherd finished the ham sausage and seemed to understand my words. It didn't do anything except look around. I climbed out of the water cave, stepping on the rocky path. As soon as my foot touched the flat ground, the German shepherd on my back jumped off. It limped and looked around. I repacked the things on the ground into the bag and glanced at the German shepherd, which had started wandering. I turned and walked toward my mom's villa. Ding ding ding, my phone suddenly rang. It was Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan, what's wrong? As soon as I picked up, I heard Xiaoyan's gasping and noise on the other end. Beichen. Zombies everywhere. I sighed. The virus spread in the city faster than I imagined. I ran into one too. Are you okay? Xiaoyan quickly asked with concern. Did you get bitten? I saw those people turn not long after being bitten. I'm fine. Don't go out from now on. Stay home with your parents and wait for rescue. Okay. Xiaoyan took a soft breath. You be careful too. I'll talk to you later. I'm still on the road. I'll tell you more when I get back later. Holding my phone and flashlight in one hand, I pushed aside the surrounding plants with the other. Okay. Xiaoyan replied softly. Be careful. Remember to put your phone on silent. Try not to make noise. These zombies are sensitive to sound, but their eyes have rotted. If you have to confront them, aim for their heads. Other vital spots won't work. I remember. Xiaoyan answered repeatedly. I hung up the phone and looked back. That German Shepherd had followed me at some point. It chased after me with a mix of caution and dependence. After walking for about half an hour, I finally found my mom's villa. My mom, true to herself, built this villa halfway up the mountain with almost no clear road leading up or down. It could greatly slow down zombies and people. Outside the villa was a tall wall, and on the wall were electric wires. To enter the wall, I first had to unlock the gate with a key only my mom and I had. Once inside the wall, to enter the villa, I needed facial recognition for both my mom and me. Just as I was about to close the wall gate, that German Shepherd stood a few meters away from the door, staring at me pitifully, its originally high tail drooping. After hesitating for a moment, I led it into the yard. Since it was an island for one person, of course there was an independent freshwater system and power supply. But my mom, just in case, had installed many solar panels in the yard and on the roof. That way, even if the island's power system failed later, it could still ensure basic electricity at home. Following my mom's instructions, after I entered, I activated the highest defense mode for the whole house. Though I didn't know what the highest defense entailed, what I could see were the electric wires on the wall being energized and all the doors and windows in the house being tightly shut. After tidying up a bit, I took out bruise and sprain medicine, bandages and splints from the medical kit. The German Shepherd was quietly curled up in a corner. Hearing the noise, it just looked at me listlessly. I directly took out a few sausages, threw them in front of it, and while it was eagerly eating, I pulled out its injured leg. I'm not a doctor, I only know basic care. I gently felt its twisted leg bone. Though it troubled me, I didn't know how it had tangled with zombies or how it got injured. But fortunately, the zombie hadn't caught it, and there were no external wounds. Otherwise, I'd be afraid it might turn too. I first rubbed it with bruise medicine, and it let out a couple of yelps. Then I used the splint and bandage to immobilize it simply. I wasn't sure if its leg would heal, that was up to it. I brought out a bowl of water and a bowl of chicken breast from home and placed them in front of it. When my mom built the villa, she probably never thought we'd have a dog, so there was no dog food or anything like that at home. After treating the German Shepherd's injury, I went back inside to take a shower. Just as I was thinking about what to eat, my mom suddenly called, "Little Bao, have you made it home?" "Yes, I'm home. Mom, how are things there?" I quickly put down what I was holding. "I'm relatively safe here for now. I'll come find you in 2 days. Stay home and don't open the door for anyone, okay?" "I understand," I quickly nodded and replied. Maybe the signal on my mom's end wasn't great. The intermittent static made it impossible to hear what she said next. I only vaguely caught something about a basement. The idea of building a basement was something I had brought up to my mom. I thought an extra basement level would be great for storing clutter, but my mom didn't seem to agree. The entrance to the basement was hidden behind the large wardrobe in my mom's room, very well concealed. I tidied up my room a bit and then went to check out the basement. If it weren't for the apocalypse, I would have suspected my mom was planning to open a supermarket on the island. The entire basement, over 200 square meters, was stacked with all kinds of supplies, food, drinks, necessities, clothes. Almost every daily necessity was covered. According to my mom's plan, the basement supplies were not to be touched unless absolutely necessary. After all, there were plenty of supplies in the villa above ground. On the first day of the zombie outbreak, the Russian government still tried to spin the narrative, claiming it was just a terrorist attack, even attempting to point fingers at S4. I opened my phone. The trending topics were flooded with news about this incident. "Beichen, you're not at school, are you? My friend Aisha sent me a WeChat message. The school is taking a head count. Where are you? Should we report you as present?" I hesitated for a moment and then chose to reply. "Aisha, don't worry about me. I'm safe at home. Things are chaotic out there right now. Don't go outside under any circumstances. As for the stuff I left in the dorm, feel free to use it if you need to." Not long after I sent that, Aisha replied, "It's fine. As long as you're safe, be extra careful out there." Aisha and Rueli are my friends, both Chinese. I don't usually hang out with them much, but we get along okay. Now that this has happened, I wonder if they'll hold out until rescue arrives. Scrolling further back, there was a message from a teacher asking why I skipped today's morning class. Given the current situation, I probably don't need to explain anymore. I put down my phone and glanced out the window. The usual silence and peace so far. This isolated island was still very safe. After a whole night of commotion, I was so sleepy that tears were streaming. As soon as my head hit the pillow, I was fast asleep. "Xiaobao, watch out!" My mom's terrified shout rang in my ears. I quickly turned around. Less than 3 meters away from me stood a mutated zombie. My mom's scream was like a trigger, and the zombie lunged at me like crazy. Its pitch-black eyes stared straight at me, making me stumble back several steps. Bang! I watched as the zombie stopped right in front of me, black fluid slowly oozing from its wound, then it crashed to the ground. Mom! My mom rushed over and slapped me across the face. Didn't I tell you not to tell anyone about this place? I stared blankly at her, not knowing when I had revealed our home's location. I turned to look at the zombie. At some point, it had taken on the face of Xiaoyan's dad. Xiaoyan? I asked my mom, my voice trembling. Beichen? Xiaoyan stepped out from behind my mom, her face covered in tears as she sobbed quietly. My dad. I turned to look at my mom. She shot me a look of utter disappointment, then grabbed her gun and walked away. Xiaoyan and I quickly followed, afraid of losing sight of my mom. I intended to comfort Xiaoyan a bit more, but when I looked back, Xiaoyan had disappeared without a trace. Xiaoyan. I called out urgently. When I turned around, my mom was about to vanish around the corner. Mom! With Xiaoyan gone and my mom about to disappear, I froze for a second, then sprinted toward my mom. Just as I turned the corner, I saw my mom tackled to the ground by Xiaoyan's mom. Her neck was already covered in bite wounds. Mom! I snapped my eyes open. What I saw was the crystal chandelier on the ceiling. For a moment, I was disoriented, unsure where I was. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would leap out. Empty, lost, silent. All these feelings surged over me. I hurriedly stood up and looked out the window. The crisp, green forest, the endless sea of the future, silent as if cut off from the world. No, truly was cut off. In that instant, I realized the apocalypse had arrived, and as a survivor, I was bound to be alone. My stomach growled twice. Wearing simple pajamas, I went downstairs and quickly made a sandwich in the kitchen, along with a cup of soy milk. The German shepherd in the yard was still obediently curled up in a corner, silent and still. Come here. I opened the door and waved at him. The German shepherd promptly limped over on 3 legs. Rubbing against my pant leg with a low whine, I glanced at his bowl, which was already licked clean, then went to the kitchen and found a cooked steak. I added it to his bowl along with some water. Oh, shut up. I scolded him in a low voice and smacked him on the forehead. No barking. Bark again and you're out. Demu seemed to understand what I meant and let out a couple of aggrieved whimpers. He curled up and lay down at my feet, licking my pant leg ingratiatingly. Ugh, disgusting. I lifted my foot to avoid Demu's touch. After fighting a horde of zombies, Demu reeked from head to tail. I had no idea what kind of filth he'd gotten into. After hesitating for a while, I gritted my teeth. I found a rope from the house, tied Demu up, and led him into the villa. Demu's paws had stepped on who knows what, leaving a trail of distinct black footprints on the floor. Resigned, I pulled out a large basin, filled it with warm water, and stared at Demu tied up in the corner. You stink. Come here for a bath. Demu backed off a couple of steps with a whimper, looking like he wanted nothing to do with water. With no other choice, I just grabbed him, threw him into the basin, washed him several times with my shower gel, then gave him a quick dry with a towel, and let him out into the yard to bask in the sun. Maybe because he hadn't eaten well at the dock, Demu's fur wasn't shiny. He had a few old scars and wore a heavy iron collar around his neck. But still, at least he was lucky to run into me. After all, who knows what the dock looks like now. On the second day of the zombie outbreak, I used the telescope my mom left behind to get a rough idea of the whole island. There were about a dozen villas scattered across different parts of the island, but only about 5 or 6 were actually occupied. The closest household to me was a foreigner. The man was on vacation recently, spending time alone with his mistress on the island. Next was an elderly couple. My mom said the husband used to be a business tycoon at the expo, and in recent years he handed over his business to his son. He brought his wife to live a peaceful life on the island. I wasn't very familiar with the other households, and they lived on the opposite side of the island. A bit far from my place, so no worries for now. Online. More and more videos and discussions of people being chased by zombies appeared, some even live streaming what the zombies looked like. Panic spread. More and more social media influencers, caught in the zombie purge, tried to escape the dangerous cities. Plane tickets, boat tickets, train tickets, prices skyrocketed almost instantly. Some people cried and screamed, begging everyone for a ticket out of Russia, willing to spend their entire fortune. Meanwhile, the government did nothing. High officials appeared in front of the media every day, shouting slogans about terrorism, cursing the malicious intentions of Nation S. And inside Nation S, I saw a friend of mine who was studying abroad complaining on social media. Because of the zombie outbreak in Russia, and the government's lax control, the virus leaked. Now Nation S also had many zombies. People across Nation S were complaining bitterly. If it weren't for the zombie issue being a severe global survival crisis, I bet the 2 countries would have gone to war. The state where my school was located was now in complete chaos. All commerce and industry had collapsed. Zombies roamed the streets. Survivors were hiding in their homes. Outside the window, the foreign man was still lying on the beach sunbathing. The woman in the bikini was grilling seafood she had just caught from the sea. They seemed unaware of what the outside world had become. Xiaoyan called me again. On the other end of the line, he had deep dark circles under his eyes. He was hiding under the covers, sobbing softly as he told me about the terrifying situation outside. Don't be scared, Xiaoyan. I sighed softly. As long as you stay home and don't go out, you should be able to wait for rescue to arrive. Did you spend all the money I transferred to you? Xiaoyan shook his head. Not yet. I was buying stuff with my dad when we ran into zombies. We quickly got in the car and drove away. I frowned. So how much did you buy? Do you still need anything at home? Xiaoyan paused, then shook his head again. Do you have enough water? I was worried the water might be cut off later, so I had to ask directly. What about electricity? It might get shut off too. Xiaoyan stared at me blankly. Water, my dad bought a lot of barrels. But electricity. I sighed. The time my mom left me really wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for Xiaoyan to install solar panels at his house. No matter what, try not to go out. It's too dangerous outside. Just make do at home. It'll be fine once the virus passes. I had no other option but to comfort Xiaoyan as best I could. After hanging up with Xiaoyan, I was thinking about whether I should clear out the flowers and plants in the yard and plant some fast-growing vegetables. Then there was a knock at the door. Before I could even react, Demu stood up alertly and barked at the door. Shut up! I quickly scolded him and grabbed Demu by the neck, dragging him into the villa. The villa had excellent soundproofing, so even if Demu howled inside, it would be hard to hear outside. I decisively locked Demu in the storage room, then checked the situation outside through the doors. Video intercom. It was the female owner of the neighboring house, Expo, standing outside with her cane. In her hand, she held a plate of freshly made macaroni. Macaroni was one of my mom's favorite foods. I had heard my mom say before that this old lady's macaroni tasted very good. The old lady must have thought my mom had arrived and specially brought the macaroni over. After hesitating for a while, I decided not to open the door. The old lady waited for a bit, and when no one came to answer the door, she had to turn back step by step with her cane. I ran upstairs to look outside and saw the old lady passing by the foreigner's house. That mistress seemed to be mocking the old lady, but after just a few words, the old man came over with his hunting rifle. He glared fiercely at the mistress and helped the old lady walk back. I let out a soft sigh and stopped paying attention to them. On the third day of the zombie outbreak, the government's lies collapsed under the overwhelming flood of videos online. This time, not even any high-ranking officials appeared on the media. To calm the public, everyone was frantically running out, which led to the rapid spread of the zombie virus. In other countries besides ours, with more and more areas falling, news like this would be known even in the most isolated places. The foreign male owner and his mistress hadn't gone out for the past 2 days either, and the elderly couple next door stayed behind closed doors. The elderly couple had lived on this island for quite some time. As far as I knew, they grew some vegetables in their yard, and often dried seafood, so they likely weren't short on supplies for now. I thought that if I could get in touch with my mom, I'd ask if she wanted to help this elderly couple. But when I was alone, I absolutely didn't dare to open the door. However, before I could get my mom's call, a change occurred. Ever since the old lady next door came over with the macaroni and Demu barked, I suddenly realized I couldn't keep this dog in the yard anymore. If he barked again, the whole island would know someone with a dog was home. If zombies appeared on the island, he might even attract them. So I decided to keep Demu inside the villa. When my mom built this villa, she prioritized soundproofing first, so if I locked Demu in any room, no noise could be heard outside the yard. Luckily, this Demu didn't bark often. That day, while I was training the dog to exercise on the treadmill, I suddenly noticed the foreign male owner, whose doors and windows were usually closed, running to the elderly couple's doorstep, even bringing his little mistress. I quickly grabbed my mom's binoculars to look. The mistress looked frail and weak, holding her stomach as she leaned against a tree. The foreign man knocked on the elderly couple's door. They seemed to talk through the door's video intercom for a while. I saw the old man come out step by step with his hunting rifle, drop a bag by the door, then retreat to a safe distance before using the smart lock to open the yard gate. When the gate opened, the foreign man immediately spotted the bag by the door, but he didn't seem satisfied with just that. He scanned the old man's yard thoroughly. In the end, I don't know how the old man and the foreign man negotiated, but after some back and forth, the foreign man took the bag and left with his mistress. But I felt this was far from over. Even though the foreign man hadn't targeted my house, his actions made me feel extremely insecure. At that moment I desperately wished my mom would show up soon. On the 5th day of the zombie outbreak, countries around the world were more or less overrun by zombies rampaging across the earth. Xiaoyan called me every day, crying so hard he could barely breathe, until he exhausted himself and fell asleep. But besides comforting him, I couldn't do anything else. Xiaoyan told me that many people had tried to venture out for food lately, but none had returned safely. If not for the supplies I had told him to stock up on, his family probably wouldn't have lasted this long. Xiaoyan said that ordinary households were running low on food, so the people on the island must be running low on supplies too. The foreign man wasn't in the habit of stocking food, and since he was only on the island for vacation, his food would run out the fastest. Even if the old man had given him a bag, probably wouldn't last long. After making this guess about the foreign man's behavior, I didn't even dare sleep soundly at night. I'd get up at the slightest noise, and eventually, I brought Demu to sleep in my room. That night it rained heavily. On this island, rain wasn't very common. Rain pattered on the leaves, rustling, and also masked some sounds not meant for others to hear. I was sleeping groggily when I heard the usually quiet and well-behaved German shepherd suddenly stand up. The sound of his claws on the floor instantly woke me. The German shepherd stood by the window looking out. His eyes were fixed on something. I quickly got out of bed, put on shoes and went to his side. The rain was heavy. I couldn't hear any strange sounds clearly, but I trust a dog's ears are sharper than mine. So I just sat next to the German shepherd, holding my wong-wong, and tried to stay alert. After about 10 minutes or so, I still couldn't see anything in the pitch-black night, at most the light on at the elderly couple's house next door. Then suddenly urgent knocking came from outside the yard. In that instant, my heart leaped into my throat. At the same time, the German shepherd opened his mouth to bark, but I quickly clamped his mouth shut. I dragged him back into the storage room. I hurried downstairs in my slippers and ran to the video door phone. The one knocking at the door is still the old man next door. At this moment, he is covered in mud and rain, and his coat is nowhere to be seen. He is shivering all over, knocking while looking behind him. He must have encountered zombies. Or he was robbed. I dare not act rashly. First of all, I'm afraid the zombie virus has also appeared on this island. If I let the old man in, he might mutate right in front of me. Second, I'm afraid of getting into trouble. I haven't turned on the lights or anything at home these past few days. I was afraid of being discovered that someone was home. Even so, the old man noticed something strange because of the German shepherd. My combat ability is too low. No matter what kind of accident, I can't afford it. I don't dare to stay by the door either. I hurried over to the monitoring room. My mother, with foresight, prepared such a safe house, so of course there are surveillance cameras. This entire villa, plus inside and outside the yard, has about a dozen surveillance cameras. I skillfully pulled up 2 cameras outside the yard. One is aimed at the yard gate, which can see the direction of the video phone. An old woman stood at the gate, speaking in a foreign language I didn't understand, looking into the distance beyond the courtyard. It sounded like fear, or perhaps curses, just as my conscience was tormented. Suddenly, the old woman seemed to see something terrifying. She gave up knocking and turned to run away. I was puzzled when a figure of a man in a hooded sweatshirt vaguely emerged in the rainy night. It was that foreign man. The hood of his sweatshirt was on his head, and he held a short blade in his hand. He was completely submerged in the darkness of the night. Perhaps wondering why the old woman had knocked, he glanced at the video intercom by the door. Since I hadn't turned on the light, he saw nothing. But that glance of his still filled me with deep fear. Fortunately, he didn't linger long. He quickly turned and disappeared into the rain. I was terrified, I was scared. I dared not think too much about where the old man, who had always been loving with the old woman, had gone, nor did I know about the foreign man's blade. Blood that has been or will be stained on someone. That night, I sat in the surveillance room, staring intently at every frame on the monitors, clutching a fruit knife tightly in my hand until dawn broke. The dark clouds receded, and the rain pattered to a stop. The air was filled with the salty, damp smell of the sea breeze. No movement all night, which emboldened me slightly to climb to the second floor. Using a telescope, I looked toward the direction of the elderly couple's villa next door. The rain seemed to have washed away all evil. If not for a sleepless night, I might have doubted that last night's events were just a nightmare. There were no traces on the road. As calm as usual. Not long after, I saw from the foreign man's villa that lover come out. She walked all the way to the elderly couple's villa door and knocked. Last night, I didn't see that lover's figure. I don't understand why he would go knock on the elderly couple's door at this moment. However, my confusion was quickly resolved. The one who came to open the door was not the elderly couple next door, but it was the foreign man. After he opened the door, He rubbed his messy sleep-tousled hair as if in his own home, went to the yard to get some cold water to wash up. That lover seemed to have said something to him. The two of them cozily entered the house, from beginning to end. I never saw the elderly couple from next door. A faint answer stirred in my heart, one that filled me with immense fear. I never expected that the zombie virus wouldn't wreak havoc on the island. Instead, it was humans who first harbored murderous intent. Buzz. My phone suddenly vibrated gently. I quickly picked it up and answered. Beichen, it's over, it's over. Xiaoyan was on the other end of the line, crying without lowering her voice for the first time. My heart sank again. What's wrong? The neighbor discovered our food. He threatened that if we don't give it to him, he'll expose us in the owner's group. Let everyone come and loot our food. Xiaoyan was sobbing breathlessly, but still explained to me clearly and logically. Did you give it? I asked hurriedly. We were almost out of food. Yeah, the foreign man trapped on the island probably wanted to take over X2, the food of my elderly couple. So Xiaoyan would naturally encounter someone like that as well. I only regretted not having explained clearly to Xiaoyan from the start. Given. Xiaoyan took a soft breath. My dad said that at this rate, the government won't have the resources to rescue us anytime soon. Water, electricity, and internet will go down soon. All we have to do is hold out until the power and network cut off. Then his threat won't be a concern. I breathed a silent sigh of relief. That's good. Uncle's plan is already the best option for now. I know. Hide the supplies well. Don't open the door easily. When necessary, take extreme measures. I'm just afraid Xiaoyan might soften her heart and save someone she shouldn't. Xiaoyan responded softly again, as if she wanted to say something but held back. Xiaoyan, is there something you want to say? Beichen. Xiaoyan's voice sounded troubled. My mom and dad want to ask if we can come to your place to take shelter. I don't remember how I ended the call. It was as if right after Xiaoyan asked that, I hung up with quick reflexes. Or maybe it was the crackling static that made it so she couldn't hear my voice, and then the call dropped. I only know. When Xiaoyan asked that question, a bone-chilling cold suddenly surged in my heart, along with a peak of alertness. That strange dream of mine kept replaying in my head. The foreign man's voice from last night had left a shadow. I knew very well that given my relationship with Xiaoyan, I shouldn't have reacted this way. This villa could be said to be my mom's hard work. She had told me many times that if the virus really leaked one day, I must absolutely not bring anyone here. Xiaoyan's proposal put me in a difficult position, I admit. I'm selfish. I'm cowardly. I'm afraid of death. I'm afraid that Xiaoyan's family coming would bring the zombie virus. I'm also afraid that if they stayed in the villa for too long, they might get the idea of taking over the nest. I'm really scared, but I also despise myself for it. Xiaoyan and I have been good friends for 5 years. Back when I first came to study abroad, I still had a strong accent. I didn't like interacting with people and only talked to those from my own country. Everyone wasn't very quick to accept me as a transfer student. Only Xiaoyan would talk to me gently, tell me about things at school, help me correct my accent and improve my grades. I shouldn't have abandoned her out of fear, but I still did it. And now I've even rejected her proposal. She must be sad right now, maybe even angry. She probably thinks I'm stingy and unfriendly. I didn't dare think further. I took out the satellite phone my mom had left me, called my mom's satellite phone. I waited a long time, so long that I thought it wouldn't be answered. Then the satellite phone was picked up. Mom, what's wrong? My mom's familiar voice and tone came through the satellite phone. I quickly held back my tears, forced a smile and said, nothing. When will you arrive? About 3 to 5 days. Why so long? Normally, the distance from my mom to here wasn't that far. It shouldn't take that long. I have some things I must do. Wait for me at home obediently. Don't open the door for anyone except me. I paused for a moment, then nodded solemnly. Mom, don't worry. I'm fine. The house is safe. My mom seemed to snort softly on the other end, murmured something quietly, then impatiently wanted to hang up. I won't talk to you anymore. There are zombies over here. As soon as she said that, the call was already cut off. Listening to the cold, busy tone, I felt a little more at ease. My mom isn't often by my side, but every time I talk to her, I can feel a bit more peace. That's been the case since I was a child. After confirming the time of my mom's arrival, my anxious heart finally relaxed a little. Over the next 2 days, the foreign man and his young lover made no other moves. But I occasionally saw them pointing toward my house. It seemed, if nothing unexpected happened, their next target would be me with no combat skills. I just hoped my mom would come back soon. At the same time, to prevent Demu from barking at the wrong time. I had been training him these past 2 days. If it weren't for the fact that throwing him out right now would draw even more attention from the foreign man, I would really have gotten rid of him. The first time I saw results, a helicopter suddenly arrived on the island. Demu, who heard it before I did, rushed over to me as I was cooking, whimpering, looking very anxious. Before I could react, I faintly heard something overhead. The sound of a helicopter made me drop what I was holding and run up. The helicopter flew steadily over the rooftops and trees. It landed on the small helipad at the highest point of the island, and my guard went up again. I didn't think this helicopter was here for a rescue. After all, there weren't many people on the island, and even fewer knew about it. Rescue from the country could never come this fast, so there was only one possibility. Someone had come to the island to take shelter. I watched closely for a moment. After the helicopter landed, a group of people protected by mercenaries came down, carrying large bags and small parcels. They quickly disappeared into the forest path near the helipad. I wasn't the only one who noticed this change. The foreign man and his young lover also saw it. I clearly saw the foreign man and his lover seemed to have a quarrel, occasionally pointing at the helicopter on the island. The focus of their argument was probably these newcomers. If their attention shifted to those new arrivals, that would be good news for me. Unfortunately, things rarely go as you wish. They still set their sights on my house. Then came urgent knocking on the door. Demu had been lying obediently at my feet, but suddenly jumped up. I quickly made a silencing gesture to Demu and walked quietly to the video door phone. On the screen of the video door phone, the foreign man's young lover was crying pitifully, knocking on the door while looking at the camera with a pleading expression, his clothes in disarray. Perhaps he thought someone was home. I kept silent. I only heard him sobbing continuously through the intercom. "Help me, save me, please." His words were mixed with English and a language I couldn't understand. He said he had run out while the other man was asleep, hoping I would take him in. How could I believe him? For all I knew, the foreign man was hiding in some corner, waiting to pounce when I opened the door, or planning to work together with him from inside. The lesson of the elderly ex-country couple was still fresh. I hadn't even seen them since. How could I dare let him in? The young lover cried to himself for a long, long time. The house remained silent. He gradually stopped sobbing, glared at the camera with confusion and anger, then turned and left the camera's view. I hurried into the monitoring room to get a better view of their movements. But to my surprise, the young lover didn't go back to the foreign man. Instead, he circled my yard and tried to climb the wall. This scene made my heart nearly leap out of my chest. The moment his hand touched the top of the wall, crack, I could even clearly see the spark of electricity. Before the woman could react, she let out a scream and fell down. Yes, my mom had installed an electric fence. At that moment, I firmly believed in my mom's caution and foresight. The young lover, having fallen from the wall, lay on the ground for a long time before slowly getting up. He glared resentfully at the electric wire on the wall, then limped away. Once might not be enough. There would surely be a second time. To protect my safety, I prepared some things like a gun. The country didn't ban guns. With power, money, and connections, you could get anything. My mom had spent a lot of effort to obtain it. My marksmanship wasn't good, but at least I knew how to fire, enough to act as a deterrent. Now I just waited for the foreign man to show up. Demu stayed obediently by my side, not making a sound easily. The only downside was that he ate more than I did every day. I could only console myself that having a dog often meant it could sense danger before I did. The foreign man also chose a dark and windy night to attack my house. Demu lived up to the reason I kept him. He whimpered softly beside me early on, warning me that someone was approaching. I didn't bother washing up. I grabbed the gun and bullets and ran straight to the third floor. This time, the foreign man seemed very cautious, circling the area before having his young lover stay nearby to keep watch. At first, he tried to pry open the yard gate. After fiddling for a while, he could only kick the door in frustration. I had to admit the security level of that gate was really high. Since he couldn't get in through the door, he had to climb the wall. The foreign man didn't know where he got a ladder, trying to climb in without touching the electric fence. But the wall was covered with wires, and he couldn't find any foothold. I thought he might give up, but unexpectedly he pulled out a pair of insulated gloves from his clothes and carefully touched the edge of the electric wire. I was just thinking about whether to fire a warning shot, when one of his legs had already crossed the wall, and his other leg was carefully being brought inside. All right. The bullet grazed the foreign man's leg and hit a tree trunk nearby. The foreign man's face instantly darkened. The young lover looked at him with even more concern. I didn't dare speak, but the warning was clear. The foreign man rambled on in his language, and then, worried I wouldn't understand, repeated everything in English. The gist was that he didn't mean to intrude, but his girlfriend was pregnant, and he had no food left, and he thought my house was empty, so he came looking for something to eat. Seeing his heartfelt look, if I hadn't witnessed him slaughtering those people myself, I heard the foreign man curse something I didn't understand. He scrambled slowly over the wall. This time, he accidentally touched the center of the electric fence, and even his insulated gloves couldn't save him. He tumbled straight over and fell. His little lover rushed over to comfort him, cursing at my mother. See, people like him, even if they hadn't killed my elderly couple, would never feel gratitude for others' kindness. I thought this matter was temporarily over. But I didn't expect that before dawn. The foreign man came again. This time, the foreign man didn't climb the wall or plead. I was startled by the gunshot, but to my surprise, my mother had installed bulletproof glass. The foreign man's bullets posed no threat to me. This wasn't just an island, it was my turtle shell. Maximum defense. The discovery of bulletproof glass only made the foreign man angrier. He aimed at my front door and fired several shots in a row. A series of gunshots echoed across the island. I squinted, cracked the window open a tiny bit, and raised my gun. My aim was terrible, but I was furious. He kept challenging me again and again. One shot, was it a little late? I held the gun up. With extreme seriousness, I fired another shot. This one hit his thigh. The bullet instantly cost him the use of his leg. He collapsed to the ground. This time, no more ugly, gray curses came out of his mouth. Fear enveloped him, just as it had enveloped my elderly couple. I saw him wailing and begging for mercy. Dragging his useless leg, he crawled toward a tree. That shot whizzed past his scalp. What a shame. He disappeared completely into the woods. I didn't get a chance to fire a fourth shot. From then on, even if he wanted to, he probably couldn't come bothering my house anymore. With Demu by my side, I slept soundly until noon, feeling sick. Once the anger faded, belated fear rushed in. The window I had cracked open. I could shoot out, but bullets could also come in. And my shaky aim. I have to say, I was really lucky. To reward myself for being so brave, and to comfort my fragile psyche, I made myself a very rich lunch. Mushroom and shrimp soup, blanched lettuce, stir-fried beef cubes, and a bowl of rice. I treated myself, and Demu deserved credit too. I opened a can of beef for him, a pack of beef liver, a tomato, and a bowl of rice. One human and one dog ate happily. On the 15th day of the zombie outbreak, something happened at Xiaoyan's house. Xiaoyan didn't explain the specifics. Cell signals were already very poor. I could only catch a few fragmented sentences. Beichen, my house isn't safe anymore. Can I come hide with you? I still had to face the issue I'd been trying to avoid. But you don't even know which island I'm on. And there's no boat to get you here. I just want you to find me. The signal kept cutting out. Finally, it hung up on its own. I sat by the window, looking at the distant sea. I sighed softly. I didn't know how many supplies my mother had prepared, nor whether Xiaoyan's family later would turn against us for supplies. I also didn't know if their arrival would bring the virus. Too many uncertainties made me selfish and timid, unwilling to accept them. I didn't know what Xiaoyan would think of me. I just hoped that back then, Xiaoyan had used the money I gave him to buy enough supplies. Because of sea breezes and tides during the day, the island could only be entered at night. That's why I had to arrive before dawn. To avoid missing my mother's call, I kept the wireless phone by my pillow these days, fearing I'd miss her call to open the door. Under my eager anticipation, the wireless phone rang. On the other end came my mother's tired but relieved voice. "Little treasure, open the door." The long-awaited voice instantly energized me. Ignoring the bewildered Demu, I scurried downstairs to open the door. My mother stood at the door, casually smiling at me, holding a leash attached to a zombie. I stumbled back in terror. Woof! Demu appeared beside me, snarling at my mother and the zombie behind her. "Quiet." I quickly scolded him, then turned to look at the zombie behind my mother. My mother tugged on the leash, nudged the zombie beside me, and helped me up. "There are zombies on the island. Catch one to study." I was stunned. There really was an independent lab in the villa. I had thought it was for my mom to do experiments at home. I never expected it was for keeping zombies. My mom yanked the zombie into the yard and swiftly closed the gate. The German Shepherd kept baring its teeth at the zombie, but only held back from barking loudly because of my command. My mom squinted at the dog. When did little Bao get a dog? Simple. I glanced warily at the zombie behind my mom. "Let's go inside first." My mom nodded slightly, following behind me, dragging the zombie into the house. Since I was still very afraid of the completely unresponsive zombie, after my mom entered the house, she directly took the zombie to the lab and locked it up. "Got anything to eat? I'm starving." My mom took off her dirty coat and boots. "In the kitchen. You cook for me." My mom raised an eyebrow at me, made a heart sign with her hands, then turned and headed to the bathroom. I resigned myself to the kitchen and cooked her a bowl of vegetable and egg noodles, plus a glass of milk. By the time I finished cooking, My mom was drying her short hair. When did you cut it short? In my memory, my mom always had long black hair. I rarely saw her with short hair. So heroic looking. Cut it right after the outbreak. My mom casually wiped her hair a couple of times, then tossed the towel aside. It got in the way. I replied softly. It looks good on you. This dog. My mom slurped a big mouthful of noodles. Are you raising it to eat? I rolled my eyes at her and chased the German Shepherd back to its utility room. Mom, when will this virus end? Now outside. My mom shook her head. The situation in our country is not optimistic. There are no surviving states left. Other countries are also falling one by one. That's why I brought a zombie back for experiments. The research institute is completely unusable. During this time, I went to the institute and some colleagues' places to get the experimental data on this virus. I hope I can figure something out. I glanced toward the lab, looking conflicted. So we're just keeping this zombie? Don't worry, he can't get out. My mom waved her hand. This thing only spreads through saliva and blood. As long as you don't kiss him, you won't turn. Oh, I felt grossed out by my mom. You eat. I'm going upstairs. Stop. My mom suddenly put down her chopsticks and pointed at the utility room. When are you going to kill it? I gave her a hard glare. Just eat your noodles. That dog went through life and death with me. Don't you touch him. Oh, life and death? Your mom here faced death fearlessly for you. I waved my hand and went up to the second floor. Over the next few days, my mom holed up in her lab all day, only coming out for meals to tell me what she wanted to eat. So I spent more time cooking at home. Every morning I'd wake up and make a simple breakfast for my mom, then go back to sleep for a while, wake up and make lunch. After lunch, I'd train the German Shepherd for a bit and check on the foreign guy's situation. Then it was time to make dinner again. After staying in the lab for a whole week, my mom came out looking defeated on the last day and was distracted even during meals. I might need to go out again. Why? I was startled by her words. Go where? To find someone. Who? What for? Are you sure he hasn't turned into a zombie? My mom, with dark circles under her eyes, looked at me wearily and, for once, gently ruffled my hair. Don't worry. Mom knows what she's doing, and it won't be that soon. I frowned, unsatisfied with her answer. He was one of the participants in the virus research. Only they know certain things. Because my mom disagreed with human testing before, she was sent back from the institute for a while and didn't follow up on the experiments. She didn't know the experimental details. He went back later to get more information, but his superiors were wary of him and didn't let him participate in further experiments. I need to confirm his situation first before deciding. On the 25th day of the zombie outbreak, I got a call from Xiaoyan. In this situation with no internet or power, even my mom and I use wireless phones to contact each other. I have no idea how Xiaoyan managed to get through. Beichen, I've arrived, but I can't handle it right now. Can you help? Xiaoyan's words left me completely confused. My mom, sitting on the sofa, also looked at me with a puzzled expression. Xiaoyan, where did you come? On the other end of the line, I could faintly hear the wind howling over the sea, along with the sound of a yacht engine. I'm outside the island where your house is. The wind and current are against me here, so the fishing boat can't get close to shore. Can you come help? Xiaoyan's voice said. Already heavy with withering and exhaustion, I secretly frowned. As for the island where my home is located, because my mom repeatedly warned me, I only inadvertently mentioned it to Xiaoyan. My mom bought a villa on an island, but I absolutely did not tell her the latitude and longitude of the island. My questioning left Xiaoyan at a loss for how to explain. Her hesitant attitude made my heart sink even further. Let me take over. The phone on Xiaoyan's end seemed to be snatched away by someone else. Hello Beichen, I am Xiaoyan's boyfriend. Hearing the voice of Xiaoyan's boyfriend, my expression turned even uglier. Not only did Xiaoyan secretly come to the island on her own, she also brought her boyfriend along. No wonder, Xiaoyan's boyfriend majored in communications engineering. Maybe he helped Xiaoyan get in touch with me. You said something happened at Xiaoyan's home. I heard that the place you're at right now is very safe. Do you think you could temporarily take us in? I let out a cold laugh. Do I still need to give my consent? Haven't you already arrived? Xiaoyan's boyfriend paused. Our arrival is indeed presumptuous, but you might not be aware of how chaotic the outside world has become. You and Xiaoyan have such a good relationship. For the sake of that friendship, take us in for a while. I looked at my mom, who was watching the spectacle with interest, and felt nothing but rage. Friendship? You talked to me about friendship? Didn't I warn her when the disaster struck? I even transferred $1 million to her to prepare supplies. I've done more than enough, haven't I? My complaints and blame towards Xiaoyan fully erupted under the provocation of her boyfriend. There's no way I'll let you come to my home. If you have the guts to harm me, I don't care, but don't come messing with me. Beichen, you can't be like this. The phone was snatched away again. It seemed to be Xiaoyan's mom. You and Xiaoyan used to get along so well, and now you're unwilling to take us in for just a short while? I took a deep breath, trying to suppress my anger. Auntie, there's not much supplies in my home either. When my mom prepared, she only stocked enough for 2 people. You show up out of nowhere without even a heads up, and I don't even know how many of you are in your group. If you have murderous intentions, wouldn't I be at your mercy? Beichen, what kind of talk is that? Xiaoyan's mother cursed angrily. You and Xiaoyan were so close, she gave you so many things. And now you're heartless and ungrateful? Have you no shame? What did I ever receive? The most valuable thing Xiaoyan ever gave me was this watch. I suddenly understood how Xiaoyan found the location of the island. I never expected that what he called a birthday gift was actually to monitor my location. I ripped the watch off my wrist and smashed it hard on the ground. The watch shattered into pieces. Still not satisfied, I stomped on it several times. Xiaoyan, you were spying on me. On the other end of the phone, Xiaoyan's crying grew louder. No, that's not it. Xiaoyan's boyfriend explained for her. This watch has a built-in positioning system. It wasn't something Xiaoyan set up. Xiaoyan's boyfriend's words also indirectly admitted that they indeed found me through this watch. Then how did you know the island's location? When the watch was bought, Xiaoyan tried it with her own phone. Humph. I let out a heavy, cold laugh. Xiaoyan, we're both foxes that have lived 1,000 years. Don't play tricks on me. Do you think I'd believe such nonsense? Beichen. Xiaoyan's voice came back on the phone. I didn't have bad intentions. I just wanted to take refuge with you. My home was looted, my dad was injured, we really have nowhere else to go. Enough talk. My mom snatched the phone from my hand and directly turned it off. You don't need to agonize over it. I don't agree. I bought this house with my money. I had all the facilities built. I won't let them stay. You don't need to haggle with them. Installing a positioning system in the watch, Xiaoyan really opened our eyes. But caution is never too much. My mom still put her experiments aside for now and stayed upstairs all day, using her high-power telescope to look out at the distant sea. On the horizon, there was indeed a battered fishing boat, anchored not too far or too close. Mom, I'm sorry. If it weren't for my trust in Xiaoyan, no one would have brought danger to our safety. My mom gave me a glare. I know your brain isn't working well. Without my help, Xiaoyan's little fishing boat can only stay at a distance, not too near, on the sea beyond the coastline. Until night fell, the direction of the sea breeze began to shift, and the tide started to rise slowly. They slowly came ashore as well. My mom glared at me several times, then chased me up to the 3rd floor. Out of sight, out of mind. My mom stayed on the 2nd floor, moving a chair to sit by the window. Beside me are several guns and bullets, as if I'm guarding this place like a king. I don't even know how. Why is Xiaoyan so determined to come find me? But I'm truly disappointed in him. If he just wants a place to stay, anywhere on this island is safe. But if he's bringing his whole family to find me, I look down from the 3rd floor glass window. My mom has already set up her gun, so waiting for him will only be my mom's bullets. In the end, I watch their group stumble forward, step by step, heading toward me. Besides Xiaoyan and his mother, there's also his boyfriend and his boyfriend's parents. At the back, they drag a human-shaped figure in a black bag. Xiaoyan's boyfriend helps him walk toward my house. It must be that before I crushed his watch, he memorized my location. I let out a long sigh. Forget it. It's no longer up to me to decide. Run. My mom doesn't even bother to waste words on them. Once Xiaoyan gets within a certain range, she fires directly. The bullet hits the grass a step ahead of Xiaoyan. It successfully stops Xiaoyan in his tracks. I see the terrified and stunned look in their eyes. Beichen, Xiaoyan starts to speak, tears falling before words. Just taking in for a while. You won't even do that? My mom stays silent. Only stillness and silence answered Xiaoyan. Watching Xiaoyan sob uncontrollably, his boyfriend seems to be comforting him in a low voice. His mother can't hold back and rushes out. Beichen, come out and make yourself clear. What have you done? Why does Xiaoyan's mother act as if I, this jerk, have let Xiaoyan down? How can you be so selfish? You and Xiaoyan are such good friends. What's wrong with taking us in for a bit? We won't take over your house. We won't harm you. How can you be so cold-blooded? If the same thing happened to my Xiaoyan, he would come to pick you up without you even asking. Xiaoyan's mother goes on, either accusing me or lecturing me, acting all superior. Just when I think my mom is getting annoyed, Xiaoyan steps forward. He stops his tears. With a look of grievance and despair, he stares toward my house. Beichen, are you really unwilling to help? We have nowhere left to go. I know you didn't want me to come find you on the island. I also know you must be angry about me monitoring you, but I've never had any bad intentions toward you. All these years, the bond between Duan Yen and me has been real. He's always been quiet and gentle. He never asked anything of me. It's because he never showed his true colors that I trusted him so much. I was willing to give him $1 million to keep the secret, but I never expected my kindness to be the stepping stone for his arrogance. I don't speak, and I can't speak. Then gunfire rings out again, but this time it doesn't hit the grass beneath Duan Yan's feet. Instead, it hits Duan Yan's boyfriend, who was trying to crawl in from another direction. This man who claimed to have no bad intentions toward me turned around and sent his boyfriend to sneak in. That's what he calls no bad intentions. My mom's aim is precise. Duan Yan's boyfriend is now shot in the chest, lying on the ground, barely breathing. Duan Yan quickly steps forward twice, but remembering my mom shot at him, he stops dead in his tracks. But his boyfriend's parents, who were timidly following at the back, now rush forward recklessly. My mom fires another warning shot, but it doesn't scare them. The couple reaches Duan Yan's boyfriend. Ignoring the danger, they drag him all the way behind a tree on the other side, trying to find cover from my mom's bullets. My mom doesn't want to bother with them now. Her gun is still aimed at Duan Yan. Duan Yan seems to realize it too. The person holding the gun isn't me. He hesitates whether to retreat first. Another shot. My mom seems to handle the gun skillfully, but unexpectedly, this shot isn't aimed at Duan Yan. Nor is it aimed at his boyfriend's side. Instead, it's aimed at Duan Yan's mother, who has been guarding the black bag. Duan Yan's mother has never seen such a scene before. She screams in terror. At the same time, the black bag, which had been squirming slightly, suddenly struggles even more violently. Could it be they've tied up someone? Before I can figure it out, my mom fires several more shots, precisely cutting the rope tied around the black bag. Puff! Without the rope's restraint, the thing inside the bag breaks free all at once. But even so, the person in the bag is still tied up and hasn't fully escaped. I carefully look through the binoculars at the tied-up man. It's Duan Yan's father. No, it's a zombie. I don't care about anything else and rush downstairs. Mom, that's a zombie. I know. My mother still held the rifle, standing by the window, her expression cold and stern. It was also Duan Yan's father. I never expected Duan Yan's father to turn into a zombie. Judging by the look of it, it should be Duan Yan and Duan Yan's mother. Couldn't bear to abandon it, so they brought it along to take refuge on the island. But this only means that this island is no longer a clean, safe haven free of zombies. Humph, when it comes to selfishness, no one tops them. My mother snorted coldly, aiming her rifle at Duan Yan's father, ready to blow his head off. Perhaps Duan Yan also sensed my mother's intent. He turned around and shouted for his mother to drag his father away. How could my mother easily let them leave? She fired several more shots. One hit Duan Yan's father in the leg, one in his chest, one in his left shoulder, and one in the lower back of Duan Yan's mother. Hit by the bullets, Duan Yan's mother instantly lost strength and collapsed. Duan Yan quickly ran over to pull her up. Duan Yan, alone, had no way to take two disabled people. I saw him look back at us once, his eyes complex. Finally, he propped up his mother and fled into the woods. Mom, what do we do? I looked at zombie Duan's father, who was still struggling, my face full of distress. Up until now, the only zombie I had encountered was the one on the boat that day. The one my mother brought back. I hadn't even seen it a second time. In my eyes, these zombies were like rabies carriers with super strength. I had no ability to subdue them. My mother tossed the gun to me. You keep watch. I was taken aback. My aim was terrible. What could I watch? My mother nodded. She changed into a set of leather clothes that were hard to bite through, plus leather gloves. We can't just leave him lying out there. If he breaks free, none of us will have a peaceful day. But I hesitated. Then be careful. My mother nodded. After dressing securely, she also tucked a short gun into her pocket and went out. Oh, and don't trust my marksmanship too much. After opening the door, my mother carefully closed it behind her again. I went to the window, cautiously observing the surroundings. My mother walked smoothly to Zombie Duan's father. Hearing footsteps, Zombie Duan's father snarled fiercely at her. My mother, true to form, delivered a chop to the back of his neck, instantly knocking him down. But a zombie was still a zombie, no sensation, no pain. Even struck in the neck, he still stubbornly craned his head, trying to bite my mother. She ignored his feeble struggles. After a thorough check to ensure the rope binding him was secure, she grabbed the clothes at the back of Zombie Duan's father's neck and dragged him back. I was about to wait for her, to meet her when she got near the door, when suddenly a thin but agile figure burst out from the woods. It was Duan Yan. I had no time to think. I only knew that Duan Yan's appearance at that moment was definitely bad news. Run, run, run. One shot hit Duan Yan's heart. One shot hit Duan Yan's forehead. My hand holding the gun was still trembling. Duan Yan had lost all life and fallen to the ground. My mother and I exchanged a glance. I saw the shock in her eyes. I couldn't tell which shot was mine and which was my mother's. Either way, both were fatal wounds. Not surviving any single hit, I was surprised at my unexpectedly accurate aim, and also terrified that I had killed a living person. But I knew. I was not wrong. A few meters from my mother's feet lay a sharp dagger. It had fallen from Duan Yan's hand. Duan Yan was skilled at throwing darts. I didn't know at that moment whether he had burst out of the woods to throw the dagger at my mother or to take her hostage. Either way, his intentions were hostile. My mother dragged zombie Duan's father all the way home, just like the zombie she had brought before, threw him into the lab as well. Zombie Duan's father's arrival temporarily put my mother's plan to leave on hold. I had another dream, a very strange one. I dreamed that Duan Yan, stripped of his usual gentle and quiet demeanor, gripped my neck tightly with blood-stained hands, shaking me forcefully. Xiaoyan, like a fish dying. Bang bang, in the chaos 2 gunshots seemed to ring out. The pressure on my neck slowly released. Bang bang, amid the chaos it seemed like 2 gunshots. The force on my neck slowly released. A bullet hole pierced the smooth forehead of Duan Yan, and a large amount of blood soaked through her chest. I hurriedly pushed Duan Yan away, scrambled aside, and looked around. But I didn't see who fired the shot. Duan Yan lay on the ground, blood continuously spilling from her mouth. I didn't know why Duan Yan, shot in the brain, didn't die instantly. She lay on the ground. Blood from her chest soaked her usually bright eyes, which stared fixedly at me. Filled with hatred, Beichen, I looked at her timidly, not daring to get close. Beichen, she called my name. Shouting hoarsely, even as blood gushed out mouthful after mouthful, she still shouted. What? I asked in fear and caution. Coward, Duan Yan's voice softened again. Maybe she had no strength left. Coward, what gives you the right? I looked bewildered, not understanding what Duan Yan meant. What right? Beichen, Duan Yan didn't answer my question, just called my name. Her hatred was so deep I suspected she wanted to devour me alive. I curse you. Curse you to be without protection. Curse you to die by zombie mouths. Curse everyone who loves you to die in the underworld. Duan Yan's curse was extremely vicious, leaving me both puzzled and angry. Just like your dad. In that instant, it was as if something snapped in my mind, a moment of blankness and the suffocation of a stopped heartbeat. I jumped to my feet, glaring at Duan Yan with equal ferocity, and at her chest. I kicked hard, with no restraint and considerable force. This kick sent Duan Yan sliding backward a meter or 2. My dad, the one who promised to be my lifelong support, died in a car crash while protecting me. I had only told Duan Yan about this once, and now it became a weapon in her mouth to hurt me. Duan Yan lived up to her name, ruthless enough, poisonous enough. My kick wasn't fatal to Duan Yan, but it was the end of her life. Duan Yan vomited blood in large amounts, until she couldn't even manage that anymore. She lay on the ground, completely out of breath. I slumped to the ground, my heart a mix of emotions. Tears finally burst out uncontrollably. I opened my eyes and wiped my face. All cold tears. Outside it was still very dark. I checked by moonlight. The alarm clock beside me, 3:26. I simply wiped the tears off my face. Got up and out of bed. The light in the lab was still on. My mom was still busy inside. I walked over slowly and knocked gently on the door, looking through the glass. My mom turned to look at me, a moment of surprise in her eyes, then pressed the door release. Why are you here? My mom hadn't finished her work. Wait a moment. I'll be done soon. It's fine, I shook my head. Not interested in the bottles and jars in my mom's hands, I looked towards a room further in. 2 zombies lay quietly on the experiment beds, their limbs restrained. This was the first time I observed zombies so calmly and carefully. My mom noticed my reaction. Oh, not scared anymore? I didn't answer. For the first time, I asked about my mom's experiment. Mom, can the virus be completely eradicated? My mom paused, finished what she was doing, then looked back at me. No, she answered firmly and decisively. No room for doubt. I fixed my gaze on the experiment bottle in my mom's hand. Then what is this for? A vaccine. I was stunned, looking at my mom in disbelief. A defective product. My mom sighed, alone. Even with all the surviving experiment records and data, I still couldn't make a perfect vaccine. Is it usable? No, my mom shook her head. What's missing? The main experiment leader, the person my mom wanted to bring here. Where is she? Wasn't she infected? There aren't many survivors in Australia. My mom shook her head. She was prepared long ago. As soon as the virus leaked, she ran away. Do you know where she is? Yes. My mom revealed a sly smile, which I coaxed out of her after getting her drunk. I was stunned for a moment. Turning around to look at the lab, the two zombies lay quietly inside. Then go ahead. My mom was taken aback. Come back soon. I am a selfish person. So back then, I didn't save the old lady expo who came begging for help. I am a selfish person. So I'd rather give Duan Yen $1 million than have her come to me. I am a selfish person. So when Duan Yen tried to hurt my mom, I would shoot her dead. I am a selfish person. But I can't selfishly snuff out the hope of this world. The outside world has already descended into chaos. More and more places are falling. More and more people are losing their loved ones. In comparison, I already have so much. I saw a radiant smile on my mom's face. I believe you can return safely. The radiance was tinged with tears. My mom didn't say anything, just patted my head. The next afternoon, my mom left on the yacht she arrived in. I stood by the window, watching my mom ride the yacht, cutting through the waves, gradually disappear from my sight. The next few days were calm. Nothing happened. The German Shepherd accompanied me in eating and drinking every day. Occasionally, I went to the gym to work out. Without my mom around, the German Shepherd actually played more freely with me. However, how could there be real peace? On the other side of the island, a huge explosion sounded. Brilliant flames, thick black smoke. Gunshots rang out one after another, all heralding that this island was no longer safe. About half an hour later, the gunshots drew closer. They were heading this way. As far as I know, there are only 6 houses on this island that are fully built and inhabited. The rest are either unfinished or not even started. On my side are the old couple Expo and the foreign man. On the other side, there are 3 more houses. Among them, the largest villa belongs to Mr. Rick, the owner of this island. If I'm not mistaken, the person who got off the helicopter is Mr. Rick. I held up binoculars, watching closely. The German Shepherd stayed by my side, guarding me. Soon, several ragged figures burst out of the woods. Among them, one man in a suit, supported by 2 mercenaries, stumbled and ran toward the old couple Expo's villa, which is also where the foreign man and his young lover lived. They seemed to be frantically knocking on the door. The young lover, confused, opened it. They rushed in all at once. The young lover's slim frame couldn't hold them back. They seemed to explain something to her, or maybe not. In short, after locking the main door securely, they all ran into the villa. At the same time, 2 figures emerged from the woods, desperately pounding on the gate. I looked through the binoculars and saw that these 2 were none other than Duan Yan's boyfriend's parents. No, they could no longer be called human. They were 2 zombies. Besides these zombies, did they bring other zombies ashore? Or did the 2 zombies in the lab break out? I rushed downstairs to check the lab door. It was firmly shut. The 2 zombies were lying quietly on the experiment beds. So why did they become zombies? And where did Duan Yan's boyfriend go? Doubts filled my mind, but now was not the time to seek answers. I returned to my room and continued observing their side. The 2 zombies had burn marks on them, their clothes torn and hanging loosely. They were ramming the gate desperately. The villas on the island were built quite solidly. The 2 zombies couldn't break the gate. But I didn't think it would end there. The zombies, without clothes, stopped banging after a while when they heard no noise. But since there was no sound from elsewhere either, they just lingered in that area. About 2 or 3 days passed like this. It seemed a dispute broke out over there. The zombies started slamming the gate again. Counting the days, this was already the 42nd day of the zombie outbreak. The food at the old couple Expo's house must have been nearly finished. With Mr. Rick's group joining them, there must have been a disagreement over food distribution. After noticing the zombies attacking the gate again, they fell into silence once more. This time, the gate was shaking dangerously from the zombies' blows. If they didn't think of something soon, they would likely become food for the zombies. In the end, Mr. Rick, who had Go Yongbin with him, made a decision. If I'm not mistaken, they're coming to my place. But I don't think. Mr. Rick's lineup seemed confident. Mr. Rick now had only 2 mercenaries left, but he still had his 2 children and wife with him. You see, that old couple's villa where I live is not close to here. There's danger of being discovered at any moment on the road. Of course, Mr. Rick definitely wouldn't bring along the injured foreign man and his young lover. I was on high alert, waiting to see a good show. They somehow got a ladder from somewhere. First, one mercenary climbed over the wall away from the gate. Then Mr. Rick's family, and finally the other mercenary brought up the rear. From start to finish, I never saw the foreign man or his young lover. I guess they might have been dumped by Mr. Rick due to unfair distribution. Or maybe Mr. Rick abandoned them. I originally thought they would head straight toward me next, but through the binoculars, I saw the last mercenary throw something into the yard. The huge explosion made my heart tighten, and it also panicked the zombies outside even more. I instantly overturned my earlier judgment. The foreign man and his young lover probably weren't dumped. They were left as bait to lure and hold back the zombies. No wonder he's a tailor whose business spans several islands, ruthless and decisive enough. Under the cover of the explosion, they finally sprinted toward me. The two zombies quickly smashed through the shaky gate and rushed into the house. I took out the machine gun my mom left behind, propped it on the window just like she did, only opening a small crack. I believed they wouldn't rashly come over, and they weren't as easy to intimidate as the foreign man. 100 meters, 50 meters, 20 meters, 5 meters, run. The moment they entered my machine gun's range, I fired and hit the lead mercenary in the right shoulder. They cursed and slowed down, no longer charging ahead but taking cover instead. Mr. Rick waved vigorously at me, walking slowly step by step. "Ms. Leah, it's your mom." Mr. Rick tried to get chummy. Leah was my mom's American name. I didn't say a word. "Dear Ms. Leah, please forgive our sudden visit. May we borrow your house to hide from the zombies temporarily? My wife and 2 children haven't eaten in days." "Fine." I fired a shot one step in front of Mr. Rick. "I refuse. I could even refuse the Terminator, let alone them." Mr. Rick's face darkened a bit, but he continued pleading earnestly. "Dear Ms. Leah, I know you're a kind person. You're also worried we might bring you the virus or harm. It's okay. My 2 mercenaries and I won't go in. Just let my wife and 2 children go inside, all right? A woman and 2 kids sounds harmless enough, but I still refuse. Betting your life on someone else's character is the most ridiculous thing." Mr. Rick kept pleading earnestly. I could barely catch every word, but my eyes wandered to his wife and 2 children behind him. They did look non-threatening. "Ms. Leah, please, give my children a chance to live." Seeing me unmoved, Mr. Rick was so desperate he almost knelt. Too bad. I hate this kind of emotional blackmail. Annoyed, I turned my head away. Suddenly I noticed one of their mercenaries was missing. Alarm bells rang in my head. Finally, near the corner of the wall downstairs, I spotted that mercenary. He was holding a climbing rope with a hook, about to toss it to catch the roof or eaves. He intended to climb in. They must have learned from the foreign man that my yard wall was electrified, so they never planned to come through the front door. One side with Mr. Rick's moral blackmail distracting me, the other sneaking around. I snorted, swung my gun, and fired at that mercenary downstairs. Since it was close and I aimed well, one shot blew his head off. The climbing rope with the hook fell with him. Good. A bullet grazed my right cheek, leaving a bloody scratch. I looked up in shock at the mercenary I shot first. If there could be a first shot, there could be a second and third. No matter what, survival comes first. If worst comes to worst, retreat to the basement. After closing the window, I coldly stared at Mr. Rick. Behind them, 2 zombies, hearing the commotion, were sprinting toward them. Mr. Rick and his group knew time was tight. The injured mercenary kept watch on me, while his family quickly ran toward my house. They all seemed to be wearing insulated gloves, climbing over each other into the yard. Mr. Rick caught his children one by one, then his wife, helped by the injured mercenary. I seized the moment, just as Mr. Rick's wife stepped on the mercenary's shoulder. I fired decisively, raised my short gun, and hit her neck. Blood continuously gushed from my neck. Rick's wife suddenly fell down, directly pinning that mercenary. I glanced at the anxious Mr. Rick and closed the window again. Mr. Rick was unwilling to abandon his wife. Anxiously, he was about to open the courtyard gate. But to open this gate, only my mother's and my fingerprints would work. She roared and raged, her 2 children. Mr. Rick was unwilling to abandon his wife. Anxiously, he was about to open the courtyard gate. But to open this gate, only my mother's and my fingerprints would work. She roared and raged. Her 2 children, for a moment, followed her to bang on the door. Suddenly, I heard from inside the house what seemed like the sound of machinery turning. From the courtyard suddenly shot out countless thin bamboo sticks. The damage was small, but they were extremely intimidating. Mr. Rick and his children couldn't dodge in time and were viciously stabbed by several skewers. They cried out in pain. The bamboo skewers soon stopped, but in the yard, the grass suddenly sank, leaving only a few plum blossom stakes leading toward the house. Below, the stakes were covered with spikes. Mr. Rick was completely stunned. So was I. I never imagined that when my mom built this villa, she had thought of everything so thoroughly. This not only defends against zombies but also against people. Outside the yard, zombies were drawing closer. Rick's wife cried and pounded on the gate, even trying to climb in from the side wall. The zombies approached step by step. Although Mr. Rick couldn't see, hearing his wife's cries made him extremely anxious. Ignoring his own injuries, he desperately knelt and kowtowed to me, begging only that I let his wife in for shelter. This time he was much more sincere than before. Unfortunately, the gate's unlocking permission wasn't inside the villa. We could only go to the yard and manually enter the fingerprint to open the door. I felt sorry for them. There was no way I could go out and save a stranger. Bang bang bang, a series of gunshots suddenly rang out. This attracted the zombies even more than Rick's wife's cries. I looked toward the direction of the gunshots. My mom had somehow gotten her hands on a tang knife, which looked like a long blade. She stood still waiting for the zombies to charge past. Behind my mom stood a man in a black trench coat. A refined man with gold-rimmed glasses, dragging a suitcase in his hand. This glasses-wearing man must be the main experiment supervisor my mom found. As expected of my mom, she wielded the tang knife with sharp, swift strokes. I was wondering why my mom didn't just shoot and hit the zombie in the head when a zombie had already charged to my mom. With a quick step, she met it head-on. The moment the zombie lunged at her face, she raised the knife and slashed fiercely at the zombie's neck. The tang knife was sharp, making me wonder if my mom was cutting a watermelon. The zombie's head and body separated, and it collapsed to the ground instantly. Another zombie had already lunged at my mom. Unable to dodge in time, she simply bent down and crouched, perfectly evading the zombie's attack. It missed my mom, stopped, turned, and waited for another chance to charge. My mom didn't hesitate. She sidestepped, brushing past the zombie, and at the same time, brought the knife down hard on its hands. 2 hands dripping black liquid fell. She finally got the rope from the glasses-wearing guy and wrapped it around the armless zombie several times, successfully tying her up. This was the first time I saw my mom deal with a zombie, and also the first time I had a clear understanding of her skills. My mom dragged the zombie that had tried to pounce on her, then tied its legs as well. She hauled it straight toward us. Rick's wife was already slumped by the door, her face full of shock and tears. "Hey, dear Madani, what are you doing at my door?" Rick's wife, tears streaming, looked at my mom. She seemed to want to grab my mom's clothes, but ultimately was still terrified of the zombie my mom was dragging behind her. He just shook his head. My mom opened the door with her fingerprint and saw Mr. Rick covered in mud. Shocked, she said, "Oh, Mr. Rick, why are you in my house?" Mr. Rick caught his wife, whose legs had gone weak. Facing my mom's question, he looked a bit embarrassed, but he still found another topic to talk about. "Ms. Leah, if you're not home, then who is in your house? Is your house occupied?" My mom shook her head and said, "No, Mr. Rick, the person in my house is my son. I'm not home. He stayed home alone." Mr. Rick was taken aback, then gave an awkward smile. "I see. Mr. Rick, you still haven't told me why you are in my house." My mom asked this question very seriously. Trespassing into someone's home in America is a serious crime. Mr. Rick's face showed an awkward, ingratiating expression. He had no choice but to reveal his intention to seek shelter. He recounted the process of how he entered the yard in detail. The more my mother listened, the tighter her brow furrowed. "Mr. Rick, your behavior has likely scared my son. Furthermore, frankly speaking, I cannot take you in. The supplies in my home are insufficient. They are only enough for my son and me to get by day to day. Adding another mouth to feed now, I'm afraid I can't help you." The bespectacled man clearly understood my mother's words. He followed behind, awkwardly pushing up his glasses. Mr. Rick was not one to compromise so easily. He was a battle-hardened old fox, most skilled at bargaining. His child was still wailing loudly, giving me a headache. In the end, my mother chose to take a step back. She agreed to take some food and daily necessities from the house to give him, but absolutely refused to take them in. Mr. Rick also knew that my mother would not give any more. Having observed her attitude, he could only nod in agreement. My mother stepped along the plum blossom path all the way, leading the bespectacled man inside. "Mom!" I took the backpack from my mother's hand and glanced at the zombies that couldn't get through, as well as Mr. Rick's family. "What's wrong with you?" My mother immediately noticed the wound on my face. "Woof, woof, woof, woof." Before I could answer, the German Shepherd rushed out first, barking wildly at the zombies outside the house. "Oh, and the new guy with glasses. Shut up." I scolded the German Shepherd all the way. It gave a pitiful whimper, then turned and shrunk into a corner. I then looked at my mother. "I'm fine. Just now, when I was confronting them, I got shot by a mercenary. It missed." My mother touched the bloodstain on my face, her expression full of worry. "Did you take down those 2 mercenaries outside?" "Yeah." I nodded. "I hit them with my gun." My mother patted my head, tears glistening faintly in her eyes, but she held them back. "This is Professor Yu. You can call him Uncle Yu." I turned to look at the bespectacled man and gave a slight nod. "Uncle Yu." The bespectacled man quickly responded with an looking somewhat at a loss. My mother glanced at Mr. Rick's family, then somewhat discontentedly took a large bag of supplies from the storeroom, and also handed them a bag of flour. These supplies are enough for your family to get through a long period safely. Mr. Rick, I hope you won't disturb me and my son again. If there is a next time, I won't be as soft-hearted as my son. My mother's words were filled with anger, a completely different attitude from before. Mr. Rick took the supplies and nodded heavily. Once his family had all left, my mother closed the main door again and pressed some switch I didn't know about. The lawn returned to its original state. I've put you through a lot. There was deep distress in my mother's eyes. It's okay now. Mom is back. You don't have to worry about any of this anymore. A bitter, aching feeling suddenly welled up in my heart, and tears burst from the corners of my eyes. Hey, so, where do I put my stuff? The bespectacled man awkwardly pulled his suitcase, looking nervously at my mother. My mother shot him a glare and casually pointed at the laboratory. That's the laboratory. You can stay in the lab or any room on the first floor. The second floor is for me and my son. The bespectacled man nodded and turned to find his room. Actually, the first floor only had one laboratory and a room for storing odds and ends. All right, let me treat your wound first. Saying this, my mother went to fetch the first aid kit. She used some iodine to disinfect my wound. Mom, can he develop a vaccine? The bespectacled man was too young. He looked only around 30-something, which made me doubt his professional ability. My mother nodded. He's a reserved person, but he always has a plan in mind. It took quite some effort for me to find him this time. With him here, the vaccine won't take long. That's good. I breathed a sigh of relief. After my mother carefully treated my wound, she sent me upstairs to rest. She even boldly claimed she would cook dinner that night. But with my mother's cooking skills, she dared to make it, but I might not dare to eat it. Over the next few days, my mother and the bespectacled man were both in the laboratory researching the zombie virus vaccine. Only when I had prepared meals and called them to eat would I see them emerge from the lab. My mother didn't tell me the specifics of the experiment's progress, but I could tell from their expressions and conversations that my mother was truly happy. The arrival of the bespectacled man had indeed brought great progress to the experiment. This made me feel that the success of the experiment was just around the corner. Day by day passed, and the outside world remained as chaotic as ever. Some countries even brought out their trump card weapons, but how easy was it to eliminate the zombie virus? Wherever there were people, there could be the zombie virus. If even 1 out of 10,000 people was a zombie, then those 10,000 people would all become zombies. Instead, the world became riddled with wounds, ruins, and debris. Bang, bang, bang. While I was cooking, I heard the laboratory again. The sound of the zombie struggling, by now I was used to it. The sound of handcuffs banging against the experimental bed. My mom and the glasses guy had run countless tests on those 3 unfortunate zombies. I was starting to think the zombies would mutate again from all the tampering. But this time, even after I finished cooking, the banging hadn't stopped. I set the dishes on the table and went to knock on the lab door as usual. Peering through the glass, I saw my mom and the glasses guy standing in front of a constantly struggling zombie, seemingly talking. And that zombie's reaction was different from before. Not angry thrashing, but more like agonized pounding. I knocked hard on the door to signal that it was time to eat. I couldn't be bothered to wait for them. I added the dog food I'd made for the German Shepherd into its bowl and sat down at the table to eat on my own. When I was almost full, my mom and the glasses guy came out, their faces brighter and more relaxed than ever. Xiao Bao, if nothing goes wrong, our vaccine will be ready soon, my mom said happily, grabbing my arm while I was still holding my chopsticks. I froze, then glanced at the glasses guy. He pushed up his glasses. Just a little more tweaking, and it'll be ready for consumption. That's good, I nodded. Enough talk. I made dishes today, try them. I made sweet and sour spare ribs, stir-fried lettuce, and seaweed egg drop soup. Tastes great. I didn't understand their research. I just knew the vaccine was good news. Eating was also important. My mom and the glasses guy, in their shared joy, each ate 2 extra bowls of rice, nearly finishing the plain rice I'd set aside for the German Shepherd. The experiments progressed smoothly. Finally, one morning, my mom knocked on my door. Xiao Bao. I got in touch with the homeland. Over there, because of strict controls, many people haven't been infected with the zombie virus. The vaccine can have the greatest impact. Professor Yu and I plan to send the vaccine over first. Do you want to come with us? Or stay here and leave only after things have completely calmed down? I was half asleep, looking out the window at the peaceful sky. Mom, I don't want to go. I can't do anything. I'd be useless there. I don't want to be a burden on you. I'll stay here and wait for you to come back. My mom ruffled my messy hair. Xiao Bao, you're not a burden. I'm the one who let you down. I'm breaking my promise again. I said I'd stay with you and protect you. It's okay. I shook my head. I've seen how strong your defense system is. As long as nothing unexpected happens, this island is safe. All right then. My mom nodded. If anything happens, contact me on the satellite phone. If it gets really bad, hide in the basement and wait for me. I know, Mom. I teased her sentimentality, but my own eyes were glistening. After she left the room, I couldn't sleep anymore. I sat on the bed, staring blankly out the window. It was the 115th day since the zombie outbreak. So much time had passed without me realizing it. My mom and the glasses guy, as the heroes who developed the virus vaccine, were picked up by a plane sent from the homeland. The day before they left, my mom wrote a letter and had the German Shepherd take it to Mr. Rick's family. After Mr. Rick's family couldn't stay at our place, they went to live at the foreign man's house. Besides relying on my mom's aid, they also went to the beach to catch seafood. They were lucky to survive. The German Shepherd, with its keen nose, found Mr. Rick's family. That same day, following the instructions in the letter, they showed up at the meeting point. Their clothes were already tattered, with no sign left of their former big corporation look. I asked my mom why she was taking them along. A sly, mischievous smile crossed her lips. Mr. Rick has been a capitalist his whole life, squeezing others. Now, it's his turn to be squeezed in his later years. Though Mr. Rick wasn't a good person at heart, his business talent was undeniable. Now that the zombie virus was ravaging the world, once the vaccine reached the people back home, everything would need rebuilding. The homeland's reconstruction couldn't wait a moment. Bringing Mr. Rick there was obviously to exploit his business value. But that was just the surface reason. I still felt my mom was getting back at Mr. Rick. For the times he bullied me. Still, for Mr. Rick's family it wasn't all bad. These days, the safest country was our homeland. Staying on the island without ever leaving, constantly on edge, it was still better to have a secure place to live. The world bustles with profit. Mr. Rick should be grateful he still had value. Otherwise, with my mom's personality, she would have kicked him while he was down. Mr. Rick's family was so grateful they were practically crying, ready to call her Mom, which made me laugh. In the end, they all left on the homeland's plane. On the 120th day of the outbreak, the homeland announced to the world that a vaccine for the zombie virus had been developed, and began nationwide distribution. On the 130th day, countries started purchasing the vaccine from the homeland. But due to insufficient vaccine supply within the homeland, not many vaccines were sold. In the end, following the spirit of humanitarianism, they publicly released the vaccine development method in the form of a patent, and the world slowly returned to peace. Australia originally tried to shift the blame onto the homeland, proposing a so-called homeland threat theory, which was simply laughable and absurd. My mother and the bespectacled man directly showed their work IDs from the Australian National Research Institute. That was a real slap in the face for them. Australia was the worst-hit country this time, without a doubt. For now, all they could do was watch helplessly. My mother, on a clear sunny day, came to pick me up and my German Shepherd from the island. Returning to the homeland I hadn't seen for years, looking at familiar Eastern faces, my long-standing loneliness seemed to find comfort.